Hello and welcome to a series of NX admin videos brought to you by Sherpa Design. My name is Matt Martin. Today we're going to cover customer defaults. So in the NX custom structure, we downloaded this in a previous video and deployed it. I have a series of file folders, and in the 2406 library, there's a customer defaults folder. In this folder, you're going to see a site and a TC folder. Well, this will become clear later on in possibly future videos. But I'm going to look in the site startup, and I can see in here, this is where my site DPV would live for my site settings. And I don't have anything here currently. So I come back out to NX Custom, we go into NX Startup, and the way I have this configured is I want my users to default go into Team Center. So if I use this NX Start.bat, they're going to launch into Team Center. So I've created a second one, or rather a shortcut with some switches in it. And those switches are starting in V2406, application is NX, and then the managed equals false. This is going to launch me into a native session, but it's going to launch me into a native session in this environment for NX Custom. So go ahead and launch this native launcher. I see here that my command window is green. It tells me the version of NX that I'm launching and all of my critical environment variables. It does have a timeout for 60 seconds. After I get this set up, I'll set that timeout much smaller so it doesn't stay up for very long. And we'll go into customer defaults. And if you launch NX out of the install directory with no connections or environment variables to push you up to a site directory structure, the only thing that you can adjust is your user environment variables, or rather your user customer defaults. If you have the UGII site dir set as a variable, and in NX Custom it sets that for you, you get a site directory structure. And if I look at this folder in here, let's go back into NX Custom 2406 library, customer defaults, site startup, there's nothing here. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a change and create something up here for the site. Okay, so one of the things I could do is come down here to JT files, Team Center integration, or rather export. I want to tell it to save JT data. I can lock that at the site level and apply it. It's going to ask if I want to write this information to the site DPV site, or site DPV, and there it goes. And when I come back here, it's been generated. One of the things I also want to do is I don't want to just go through and remember all of the settings I had on previous versions of NX. So I want to come up here to manage current settings. Here I can see that I've got a change already. So this is the current settings that are different than out of the box, and you can have a list of them here. I'm going to import details, and I'm going to go find a previous version where let's NX 2312 library, and same relative location, site, startup. There's my site DPV right there. Okay. That gets imported. I get a report. It tells me each of the different values that were imported and what it did with those. Down here at the bottom, you get a summary report. 168 were imported. 1 is not recognized at this release, and the rest are zeros. And I can close this one. And I want to also get my drafting standard up elevated or brought over to NX 2406 as well. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this to ASME and customize the standard. And I'm going to go to this button here and import a drafting standard. And again, I'm going to go back to that same relative location. So I'm going to go back to, oops, I need to go up to where my network is. 2312 library, customer defaults, site, startup, and then my drafting standard. Again, you get another report. It tells you all that it imported. So 30 settings were imported. Total settings already set to the same value, and a lock status is 1260. There you go. So now I go save as. I'll give this a new name, say OK, And this one is a little unnerving because you don't get an OK here unless you make another change. So I've already saved this as my drafting standard. Let's go take a look at it. There's my drafting standard right there. And if I cancel this, which is a little, like I said, unnerving, it brings you back here. I can go ahead and lock that as my standard and apply it. And now you get, again, NX Site DPV. Yes, that's okay. And if I go into Manage Current Settings, or rather, Manage Current Settings, I can see all the things that are set in my environment that are different than out of the box. And this is a good time to go through and review them. You can see the version that is modified in. If you bring this back up to the top, you got 2312 plus. I've got no new ones for 2406, so maybe I need to go take a look at those. So I'm going to go ahead and close. So go up to Siemens Support. And I did a search for NX Configuration and Customization Assistant. And I'm in NX 2406 series. Click on this and download the assistant and install it. So I just unzip it and run the executable, and you'll get this. So you can compare your two installations. I want to do from 2312 to 2406. You go next. I want to compare both customer defaults and environment variables, and I want the output to go into my my report here and Scratch 2. I want to check the site level customer defaults, and I'm going to have to navigate to where the UGII site dir is located. I also want to take a look at drafting standards. So here, if you don't really know what to do, you click on the Help button, and what's this? And then just click on the target, and it will tell you what to do. It says browse to the location where your current site customizations are. This is the same as your UGII site dir. Okay. Same thing with this one over here. Browse to the location of your current site customizations. And then you go next. You can also do the drafting files if you have a single file versus multiple files. I navigated to the single files, and I'm going to compare it with the ASME standard. You click on next. It'll go through and do it'll take a couple of minutes to process the report. And here's the report. So the report has been generated. It's done 100%. I can go to the What's Changed report webpage. There's a nice little link to take you right up to where you can see what's changed. I'll go ahead and minimize this. And I can go open the report. This will open in Excel. And if you click on the little triangle in the corner and then double click on that, it'll open up all these columns. So you can see that there's a symbol here. Looks like that's no longer a symbol. It's significant. And UG Manager Show Blank Templates is set to No and locked. And that was removed in 2406. Huh, that's interesting. All right. Nothing too significant. We hit the next button here. You could do the environment variables. This is another one that's a little bit tricky to get to. So you do the what's next. You click on browse here. And this is basically you want to go to generate support for IRPR and then generate the logs. So you tell it to collect the logs, and then in that set of logs you'll find the env variables.txt. I've got that. I generated the logs. It drops it into a local temp folder. I browsed to it and found it. And you hit next, and it'll go through and look at your environment variables. So again, I'm going to open the report. Should open it in Excel. Click the triangle in the corner, and you can see the variable names and whether or not they're removed, if they're significant or not, and read what's happened to them. To wrap this up, we've leveraged the NX Configuration and Customization Assistant to bring in the customer defaults what's changed reports, and we could take a look at the NX Open API change reports. Speed up your NX upgrades by using the NX Configuration Assistant and the NX Open Reporter tools that are available on the Siemens website. And this is kind of a graphic showing what we just did. Your currently installed versions, your customizations, the NX version you're going to upgrade to, and then all your output data, and you can evaluate that. So look to this to speed your transition from an older version of NX to a newer version, and to get on to NX Custom or NX Continuous Release. and stay up to date with NX and all the changes that are happening every month. Thank you for your attention, and stay tuned for more. This has been Matt Martin